Hey Mosaic Soul, it's Rachael Alexander here, artist and Mosaic Soul mentor, and welcome to Indigo Ray TV, the place where you step into your divinity and align your mind, body, soul, business, and creativity. So today I wanted to talk about how to transcend or how to overcome split vibes and what actually split vibes are and how they cause you to miscreate in the world. So this topic is really fun for me because I finally have so much clarity around it and am able to have such a level of awareness around when they occur in me that I'm able to kind of share how the steps that I've taken and things that my soul has kind of shared with me. One of the things that my soul shared with me is sometimes, in psychology or in other fields, you'll learn about like the ego or the superego, or you'll learn about the inner child and stuff like that. And I think those can be useful constructs to understand the different aspects of our human nature, to understand the different aspects of our human psyche. And so one of the things that happens a lot of times is we have like an adult part of ourselves, or a part of ourselves like the super conscious, right? We have a part of ourselves that's super conscious and that's aware of our thoughts, our emotions, that's aware of whether or not we're feeling good or whether or not we're feeling bad, whether or not we're identifying with something that isn't really good for us. So there's that super consciousness part of us. But then there's also like this egoic or inner child part of us that is super protective or has temper tantrums or fits or doesn't see how something will happen, or even if it does make logical sense, it has like this emotional immaturity to it. So there's these different aspects and there's these different constructs to our personality. And when we start to understand them in a way, it kind of brings a lot more clarity to your ability to handle and your ability to overcome and your ability to not cope necessarily, but your ability to move through life in an easier and a more effortless way of being. And so it's really cool to understand it in that way, because when I talk about split vibes, I talked about this in my last video about high vibes and law of attraction, committing to your dreams, so I'll link it up here above. But one of the things about that is that when you are in a high vibe, right? Let's say you had a breakthrough. Let's say that you discovered something new about your life, or discovered something new about yourself, or discovered your power in some way. You feel empowered in some way. A lot of times what happens, not a lot of times, sometimes what can happen is that we will revert back to old patterns or old karmic patterns or old things, belief systems or old emotions or thoughts that aren't in resonance with that new empowered version of ourselves. And so the way that I like to think of it, or the way that my soul kind of gave it to me, was you kind of think of it as like your inner child, or that part of you that is trying to protect you, that part of you that has an emotional immaturity and it doesn't want you to change. So what happens is when you experience split vibes is that a part of you is slightly standing firm in this new empowered version of yourself, but then there's another part of you, like I like to call it the inner child, the temper tantrum type of child, the child that's just kind of like a fury, like, enraged or trying to be protective, or has all this emotional baggage or unwanted emotions with it. And so what will happen is that empowered version of you will feel like it's not there because you're experiencing the temper tantrum or the emotional inner child that is seeped in doubt, disbelief, mistrust, seeped in fear and worry. And so one of the things that you can start to do is, one, understand like the different constructs of the human psyche, understand the different aspects of yourself, so that when you encounter them, you can easily identify that part of yourself and simply shift back to the version of your empowered self, the part of you that had those awakenings, the part of you that stepped into your divinity, that part of you that stepped into your empowered nature. Now, the inner child is useful. It's not a bad thing. I don't label any part of our human psyche, any part of our human aspects or characteristics as bad. What I see them as just aspects of the human journey that we have come to experience for greater and greater expansion. So I think they're actually very useful, but one of the things that we're not taught is these different aspects of ourselves. So we end up getting caught into the temper tantrum child, or what some like to call the ego, or whatever word, it really doesn't matter. We create whatever word feels good for you. But when you're able to identify those pieces of yourself, then you're easily able to disidentify with them. You get what I'm saying? So it's like when you're able to point, oh, that's that part of me that's getting upset because it doesn't understand or it doesn't want me to change. Okay, that's cool. I'll let it be, let it play out. You know, like, let me just share you one example for me. I had a major breakthrough through something in my life, and I was, you know, just moving and just being in happiness and joy and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden, I'm like dancing and singing, and then all of a sudden, a negative, an unwanted emotion or unwanted thought pops into my mind. And immediately, a part of me identifies with it, but because I've cultivated so much of my super consciousness, so much of my awareness, my soul self, I was able to identify it, and I was like, oh, that's just a part of me that is releasing energy. That's a part of me that is no longer in alignment. That's an old part of me. That's old vibes. That's old vibes that no longer resonates with my new empowered version of myself. So understanding that when you experience split vibes, that's kind of what's going on. And a lot of times when we're trying to make this empowered version of ourselves more permanent, we're not understanding that those aspects of ourselves can and sometimes will arise. It doesn't arise for everyone. Some people can just switch and it's just easy, and I know I can do that in certain areas of my life, but we all have like certain areas of our lives that are sticking points. You know, for some people it's relationships, for some people it's money, for some people it's their health, for some people it's their mindset, whatever it is for you. We all have like those sticking points. So it's really crucial to kind of understand these different aspects of yourself so that you can identify, then have the ability to step back from those parts of you that are no longer in resonance with who you desire to be. So I hope that this has been helpful in some way, form, or fashion. And I just wanted to clarify a little bit about split vibes and how they cause you to mismanifest, I guess you could say, or miscreate, or honestly, manifestation is always happening, creation is always happening. I don't necessarily believe in manifestation or creation in a sense, because I feel like it's just all about alignment. So whatever you're feeling is what you're going to experience. Whatever your inner world is what you're going to experience your outer world. But anyways, when I talk about split vibes creating that mismanifestation, it's when a part of you is is identified with a little bit of the empowered version of yourself, but you still have so much stuff of your inner child or your ego or the part of you that is trying to make sure that you don't change, or that's in fear and worry and all that stuff, that's operating in your psyche, that's operating in your consciousness, that's operating in your habitual way of thinking, being, believing, focusing, and expecting, that it's causing you to create situations that aren't necessarily what you want. So like you'll move in the direction of what you want and then something bad will happen, quote unquote. There's nothing such thing as bad. I feel like every experience here on the planet is cause for us to expand and grow. So my perception of bad things happening, I don't believe in bad. I just believe in events and life situations that cause us to expand and grow. But anyways, quote unquote bad, or an unwanted event might happen, right? So being able to use the tools that I just shared with you, being able to look at something, look at a piece of yourself. If you're feeling bad, or if you're feeling like you don't, like you're feeling dissatisfied or feeling not like yourself in any way, form, or fashion, then you gotta check your beliefs, check what you're feeling. What are you thinking about? What are you feeling? Because when you're feeling bad, or when you've gotten to the emotional level of feeling bad, then you gotta check your beliefs, and that's an awareness that can take time to cultivate, or it can happen overnight. It really just kind of depends on what you came here to experience. But learning to cultivate that awareness within yourself is what helps you to overcome and transcend split vibes. So I hope this video has been helpful in any way, And if it has, definitely give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend, and subscribe to the channel. And definitely check out my How the Universe Actually Works, because I go way more in depth in how the universe works and emotions and how to transcend negative emotions and all that stuff in that video, as well as the role of action, inspired action, and how that plays out in your life. So I hope this has been helpful, and I'll catch you guys soon. Peace, love, and light.